Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Chrome Tour golf ball from Callaway.
Wonderful to have you with us. Anna Jackson, delighted to be alongside this duo for the week. It's going to be so much fun. The one and only Mel Reid, and of course, the esteemed Mr. Brandel Chambly. I'm so looking forward to the next 4 or 5 days, Mel. It's all about this week. You know, this is the big motivation for the players, just the top 60 to get here. You achieved that back in 2020. What's it like just to make it here and all the opportunity that lies ahead?
Yeah, in my 17 years, I only made it once. You made it? I made it. I made it once. Listen, the 60 athletes that are in the field this week are obviously incredible athletes. They've played amazing golf all year, really earned their spot to be in the CME. Listen, it's been a long season, a lot of plane rides, living out of a suitcase most weeks. You know, the last few weeks they've gone to Asia, Hawaii, now in Florida to kind of finish off the season. And you know, this tournament is a big tournament. It's going to be the biggest check in women's golf, $4 million at the end of the week, which is a big thank you to CME and, you know, to Terry Duffy as well for really moving the needle in the women's game. But I'm very excited. I think the course is looking obviously fantastic, as it should do and as it always is. It's going to be playing a little bit longer this year. I think it's going to be a little bit of wind. It's playing softer, moving a few tees back. It's going to be a really big test, as it should be with such a big winners check. And I'm excited for all these women to put on a fantastic show for us at the end of this season.
And what a great way to culminate what has really been just an incredible year for the LPGA Tour. You can't do much better than what Nelly Korda has done this year. For the first time in some 30 years, you have a truly dominant player from America. Could make it 8 wins this week. Lydia Ko gets into the Hall of Fame by virtue of a gold medal, then follows it up with a win at the Old Course. And in terms of expanding the reach or growing the brand of the LPGA Tour, I don't know how you could do much better than a player from Thailand winning the event in Thailand, a player from Japan winning the event in Japan, a player from China winning the event in China. So in terms of what's going on here in the United States and globally, it's just been a phenomenal year for the LPGA Tour. And of course, as you just mentioned and you mentioned, it's going to be a historic Sunday with that $4 million check, the largest check in the history of women's golf, going to be awarded here Sunday night.
Yeah, it might just add a little bit more nerve coming down that final stretch, knowing financially how much is on the line this week. And we're going to be talking about all of that. Plus, we'll be meeting Terry Duffy as well. He's going to join us on the desk. But what a week we have got ahead. It is the 11th playing of the CME Group Tour Championship, with each edition contested here at Tiburon Golf Club's Gold Course, with a field comprised of the top 60 players on the race to the CME Globe standings. We've just mentioned it. One of the big headlines this week, the eye-watering purse, a record $11 million, with the winner walking home with the cool $4 million. That is the largest prize in women's golf and double the winner's check from last year. So for more, let's get down there and join our reporter this week, Miss Amy Rogers. Amy, we are all talking about this prize money. What is the impact that it's having on the players, and just how high the anticipation is ahead of this week?
Hey there, Anna. Well, here we are on the eve of the final event of the season, one of the biggest events of the year, the CME Group Tour Championship, where the top 60 in the race to the CME Globe point standings will be competing for that check you guys just referenced, that $4 million, the biggest payday we have ever seen in women's golf. And with so much on the line here this week, it got me thinking what these players must be thinking about how far they've come to be competing for that amount of money here this week, and what they remember about that first check they cashed after turning professional.
It would mean a lot, of course. You know, I think we all have that in the back of our minds. But no matter what the purse is, as athletes, we always go into every tournament wanting to win. But what Terry Duffy with CME has done for this event, just to show the appreciation that he has for women's golf and for us just being here. We're so grateful for the partnership that we have with him and CME, and just to be able to tee it up for that amount of money, that's a huge deal. And I think that just shows where the women's game is going, and hopefully will move even further and better in the future.
Nelly, with $4 million on the line for the winner this week, what do you remember back about when you first got started, your first check when you were a professional?
Yeah, I was in Bahamas. I just remember I finished inside the top 5 and I was like, okay, I'm good. I have enough money to get me through for the next couple of weeks, because obviously going from Symetra back in the day was Symetra, now it's Epson. I mean, you know, you didn't really have one. I was lucky enough to have a sponsor to help me. And then 2, you know, every paycheck really counted at the beginning. So for me, you know, playing well right off the bat took some pressure, took some weight off my shoulders. But to see the difference, even from 2011, I mean, I've been lucky enough to kind of know what life on tour kind of is like through Jess's eyes, through Jess. So to see the steps and the progress that has been made since 2011 is incredible. And hopefully, you know, we keep taking advantage of the trend of women's golf and all the amazing stories and women's in sports and continuously rising from it.
15 years ago, it was on the now Epson Tour. I made a check for $500, and I am telling you, I could not splurge on anything with that money. I was already in a lot of debt, paying for my hotels and stuff, so I was just like, well, that's a long way to go. Yeah. Leading up to this event, I was just like, $4 million. What would I possibly do with that money? There's a house that's really, really nice on the beach. That's around that. I definitely wouldn't be spending all of it, but it would be in my head constantly.
$4 million, it's so life-changing. I mean, it's incredible that the purse has been elevated, you know, to this amount. I would probably try to save as much as possible and then just go maybe on a nice vacation, you know, do something for people around me that supported me, like my family, boyfriend, coach, caddy. I feel like those are people that deserve a little something.
Well, with this being the season finale, there's always an eye on the season ahead as well. And today, the schedule for the LPGA Tour for 2025 was released. And I got some mixed reaction from the players that I spoke to here on site about the schedule for next year. Some were concerned about the flow of the events, how they go from tournament to tournament. Others were concerned about the loss of Cognizant as a sponsor, something that one player who declined to be interviewed on camera told me has become a real sticking point amongst the players who are really disappointed to see a sponsor like Cognizant leave the LPGA for the PGA Tour. And here are what some of the players that I spoke to during the Pro-Am had to say about next year's schedule.
I think it's pretty good. I haven't really looked too much into it, but I know I won't be going to Asia just because I've got some stuff to do back at home. So I'm looking forward to like playing the few in America at the start beginning of the year, then going to Saudi and play there. It's not too far from England, and then taking a few weeks off and coming back, I think, over for the LA kind of swing.
Some of the other players I've spoke to were concerned. They felt like they had lost some events and that some of the purses, like in Asia, hadn't gone up. Is any of that a concern to you?
No, I'm just kind of grateful for any events that I play in. I don't really play in that many events. Like, this is my 16th event of the year on the LPGA Tour. I don't like being away from home, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
I think logistically it looks a little bit easier than this year. You know, we have a little bit more fluidity, you know, with some tournaments on the West Coast after we come back from spring Asia, and always nice to end and start the season up in Florida. You know, as much as, you know, we, you know, as players, we think, oh, why can't they just do it this day to this day? You know, being part of the player director and being part of the board a few years ago, I realized it's not as easy as just like, you know, putting tournaments at certain dates. You know, and at the end of the day, you know, our partners are very important and they're super supportive of us. So we're all trying to, you know, do what's best.
Logistically, you felt like it had a better flow to it, and you felt like it's moving in the right direction, but what are some of those things that maybe you would have still liked to have seen that you're not seeing for next year?
You know, I think sometimes going from the West Coast to, you know, the East Coast is obviously difficult, and, you know, we don't play in like some of the bigger cities for some events, so, you know, being, you know, the travel logistics is hard, you know, from one airport to another.